From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big evening of evenings LALATE from the shores of Santa Monica, California tonight. Good evening, as big updates tonight about your stocks, your bonds, your crypto, your economy, your recession, and of course, your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. In tonight's recording, we go over the major breaking news as a fourth stimulus check has landed in millions of states across the country. Millions of states, every state across the country, millions of municipalities as well. And you can get it across the board. That fourth stimulus check in every U.S. state tonight, we now learn, is more than the savings accounts of most Americans. A new report released today says that American savings went down 15% year to date. Whoa, this is why you need to get this fourth stimulus check that is in every U.S. state that is upwards of how big? $80,000. Over this incredible 1 hour broadcast special report, new today for May 21st, 2022, we're going to go over that fourth stimulus check that is in every U.S. state. How do you do it? Step 1, become a member. Step 2, subscribe. Step 3, get that incredible membership newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And stay to the very end of this recording because over this 1 hour broadcast, we're going to go over the incredible checks that are in every U.S. state. Next up, student loan debt forgiveness covered in this video. Then SS 300 that would raise your benefits up an additional $200 now, right now, and a potential another $100 later this year. Thereafter, we'll be turning to the changing, developing details on the price of your products. At the supermarket and the gas station, they could potentially be heading to 12% inflation. What happened? All the latest details tonight. And then a new poll says 81% of Americans now believe we're going into recession. What are they saying? Next up, the stock market. Why the stock market ends a big run down. And that run down is not over. 8 consecutive weeks down, the worst run since the 1920s. The latest details of tonight's recording from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Stay with me over this 1 hour broadcast. We have a lot of money, but we're going to start with those first checks. Subscribe, become a member, and sit back for a big news recording. It's for May 21st, 2022. It's Evenings LALATE. And good evening, everybody. It's a beautiful night for May 1st, 2022 from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Good evening. A big night with a lot of money. Stay to the very end because over this broadcast, we have a lot of checks to get. Not 5 weeks from now, not 5 months from now, right now. Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. And in this incredible recording, we're going to show you how to end this day with check applications in hand and upwards of $80,000 of checks. We're going to cover also the Build Back Better Act that will give you $15,000 to $80,000 of additional checks. Then student loan debt forgiveness, that could potentially give you $10,000. SS 300, that will raise your benefits up potentially $300 more per month. That is thousands of dollars per year. Then over to the bear market, hitting crypto, stocks, bonds. And there over to the latest developing details of 6 stimulus. Next up, the oil, wheat, and the gasoline prices. If you think they're high now, they're going to go higher. Big broadcast over this 1 hour. Details, we have a lot to go over. Stay to the very end. And with that, let's start with the breaking news tonight. The breaking news tonight is a new report released minutes ago today, May 21st, reveals that the consumer savings of Americans has dropped 15% year to date. Boy, it has dropped less than $66,000. It was upwards of $75,000 last year, and now those savings are dwindling. Why? You know why. Because the savings are being eaten up by inflation. And that is why it's important to get a fourth stimulus check. And in this recording, later in this recording, we're going to show that one of those checks is more than the savings of U.S. bank accounts. Yes, more than $66,000. I got a check upwards of $80,000 for you coming up later in this recording. Next week, we start another continuing week of the new bear market of the U.S. economy. And that bear market has sent us down 7 consecutive weeks for stocks. 7 consecutive weeks. The worst run down since the 1920s of the U.S. stock exchange. And why is this big news for you? Because suddenly, Americans understand that the economy is going down quickly. That was not the situation back in the month of February when I was the only person in American broadcasting reporting that we will be in recession for 2 years starting in January 2023. It changed last Friday. Last Friday, 81% of Americans polled by a new financial news channel said they're going into recession later this year. Changing focus. Why did that change so quickly? We'll go over the latest details on that in just a second. But first, we're going to start with the Build Back Better Act that'll give you $15,000 to $80,000 of additional checks on top of those four stimulus checks coming up late in this recording. Yeah, it's good. What is the update on it? There's negotiations underway. Oh, that's really good. Who first reported that to you? I did, but I had the cast of characters incorrect. They are not including Joe Biden, as I had reported. They're not including Liz Warren or the illustrious Bernie Sanders. They are including two people. What the Chuck and what the Joe. Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin are the two people negotiating the Build Back Better Act. They've been doing it all this week, and they're hoping to get it done by Memorial Day weekend. Whoa, this is big. Let's go over the developing details on this front right now. Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin publicly acknowledge that they have been negotiating the Build Back Better Act, and they are the only two people in the negotiations to get it done, and they want to get it done before Memorial Day weekend to get those checks to you before the midterm elections. Those are their comments by those two individuals to press. They're not setting up an inherent deadline, but this is really exciting, great news. I'll tell you why. Number one, these two individuals really like each other. Joe Manchin and Chuck Schumer have worked side by side in the Senate, Democrats, for many years. They know each other. Number two, they're very blunt people. They're two of the most blunt congressmen I've ever featured on this channel. Joe Manchin will tell you what he doesn't like, and Chuck Schumer will tell you what he doesn't like as well. So they can move along very quickly because they're not going to mince their words. They're going to tell you what they like and what they don't like. Number three, they've excluded the progressives, which is very important in the equation because they're not part of the negotiations. And number four, they have the same approach, which is to get you the money to alleviate your economic strain. Wow, that's all really good news. So the when is the when. They're hoping to get the vote by Memorial Day weekend. Is it possible? It's really tight. You understand it's really tight. They would have to solidify the negotiations this coming week, then get it written this week, and then call the vote by Memorial Day weekend in the Senate. Send off to the House, then back to the Senate. That would not get you a check by Memorial Day weekend, but they're hoping to get it solidified by vote by Memorial Day weekend. Now, for the first time on E! News LA, what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to go over the analysis of which provisions in Build Back Better Act from 2021 would survive with Joe Manchin and Chuck in 2022. Some of these provisions are easy to deduce. Others of them are not easy to deduce. What are we going off of? We're going off of their comments to press in the last year and a half. What they said they would absolutely not do and what they have not said anything about. So let's go over the equation right now. But before I start with this is why it brings us back to what we started this video with. A fourth stimulus check is in every U.S. state. In this recording, later in this recording, I'm going to show you how to get that fourth stimulus check for you in every U.S. state. Every U.S. state, single, married, with children, without children, on benefits, not on benefits, $75,000 or less. It's a great check. Lots of checks in every U.S. state. It's coming up later in this recording. Why is that so important? Because we don't know what the it is when it comes to the Build Back Better Act. Yeah, you knew what it was in 2021, but in my prediction, when it's finished with Joe Manchin and Chuck Schumer, it will be very different than what Build Back Better Act was in 2021. Let's go over my analysis and my predictions of what will survive and not survive in the negotiations of Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin of May 2022. Let me go over the three classes and three add-ons. That first add-on is $25,000 for the purchase of your first home. I think that would survive. That was put in there by Maxine Waters. At the time of escrow, right before you close, there would be $25,000 to alleviate the strain of buying a first home. I think that would get in there. Why? Because the mortgage rates have surged dramatically from 3.5%. The housing starts are down dramatically, and Joe Manchin, this is something much up his ballpark. I think he would like this provision across the board. Let's go to the third add-on of checks. The third add-on of checks, of course, is MSCs. We don't know one way or the other. Of course, this was not something that was actually in the Build Back Better Act, but something proposed to be added to $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for up to 6 months. Joe Manchin's never really had a position about this, so I don't see any casualties at all. But the number could be changed. Absolutely. It's a different year and a different economy. That $250 billion of free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities, I think this is the one that's a casualty. I think this one's going to go. Why? Because it comes from Medicare, and anything that comes from modifying the Medicare system or increasing Medicare or touching Medicare, Joe Manchin has said he's against. He does not want to put any more money into Medicare because he believes the system is broken. So I think that provision, the $250 billion of free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities, would not survive the negotiations of Joe Manchin and Chuck Schumer. Ultimately, I could be wrong, but let's now go to those clusters. The first cluster, hazard pay. Yeah, I think Joe Manchin likes this type of provision. The extension of the earned income tax credit from 2020 and 2021. $4,000 of elder care. If it doesn't come from Medicare, I think it's fine. $4,000 of care for young children, sure. The CTC, one more a year, the $3,600, sure. The $12,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle. Yes, so long as it doesn't touch anything that is the energy issue for Joe Manchin. I think he's fine with it so long as you don't touch something else. Nutrition, sure. Home repairs, not really sure about that one, but it makes sense. That is all in that first cluster. Let's look at that second cluster. Okay, in that second cluster, the paid leave. Absolutely not going to survive Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin made very clear during 2021, he will not do paid leave. He will vote against Build Back Better Act if it's in there. It was not in there. Nancy added it in there, Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, and then it was removed, and then it went back in there. So I believe that will absolutely not survive. Let's go to that third cluster. Okay, this is a lot of Bernie stuff. Free internet for all, checks. Yes, that would survive. Farmers checks, sure. Seniors checks, no. I don't think any of these are going to survive. Dental, vision, hearing, I believe all would get tossed. These are all items that would come from Medicare for Medicare recipients. Again, Joe Manchin does not want to expand Medicare benefits at all. He thinks the system is broken and it's running out of money. So I don't think those would survive. The Medicaid gap fix, yes, that was actually a Joe Manchin provision. He did that with Raphael Warnock. That is a provision that will provide insurance to uninsured people in 12 Republican holdout states. I believe that provision would survive as well. Ultimately, I could be wrong in my predictions, but that is what is based upon Joe Manchin's statements of 2021, what he supports and what he doesn't support. Now, the great news for you is that you don't have to wait for Build Back Better Act to happen because a forced stimulus check is in every U.S. state. And that's coming up later in this recording. Stay with me, stay to the very end, because I have a big surprise later in this video. Next, subscribe. Third, become a member and get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday. In there has the applications to get these huge checks across the board. Build Back Better Act is also supported by Joe Manchin and Chuck Schumer's efforts to get this done before the midterm elections. Democrats are the party in control. They have to do something before the midterm elections, and I believe they will. Before does not mean November. It means months ahead of time because they have to get that check to you before you vote by mail, which starts as early as late summer. So there you go. That is Build Back Better Act. Now, Build Back Better Act is also supported by bad economic data. And this economy, however I was telling you it was going to be back in February, is now manifested itself with an epiphany in the last 7 days. Back in February of this year, I was the only U.S. broadcaster who said this economy is going into recession for 2 years, starting in January 2023. People looked at me at the time and said, what is he talking about? He's crazy. Now, every single article published this week when talking about the economy talks about recession. And the big shocker is this one. This is a big one. This last Friday, a financial channel asked its viewers, who are obviously more sophisticated viewers because they're watching financial news on a regular basis, will there be a recession? 81% of them said yes, and they did not say next year, they said this year. Whoa. This is big because what does this mean? It means consumer sentiments have changed. Consumer confidence in the economy has changed. Spending habits have changed, and we don't know how dramatically they're going to change. And this news is very quick acting. Why has this been triggered? This is what I talk about with feeling the wind on land from the storm, the recession out to sea. You don't feel the wind right now. You may not see the recession out to sea yet, but you certainly don't feel the wind of a recession yet. You feel the impact of inflation. Well, this is what's happening. For the first time ever, a lot of people are suggesting to themselves, is that wind? I see the stock market down, crashing to its worst level since the 1920, as it ended its seventh consecutive week down. NASDAQ, Dow, all down. Then we have the housing starts. That housing data this last week. 4 consecutive months down, auto sales down. Things are starting to ramp up. And suddenly people are starting to get worried, even though they don't see the impact of the inflation or that impact on the recession on them yet. Here's my prediction. Within 90 days, you're going to see a stimulus stampede. You're going to see a stimulus stampede with thousands of people going to be coming on the channel on a regular basis saying, I need money right now. Things have gotten really bad. I need money right now. The good news is that tonight, May 21st, 2022, you're watching this channel. You already know how bad it's going to be because I'm telling you, because you've been educated, you've been watching the videos, and you're getting the checks today. You're not waiting for the stimulus stampede because guess what? When that stimulus stampede hits, I have no idea if the money will still be around and may have run out by that point. Tonight it hasn't run out, and that is why it's good news to get this big sums of money. It's coming up later in this recording. Jay Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, is not the guy that sent this economy in a tailspin. It was supply chain disruption. This last week, we learned why supply chain disruption is so much more complicated than any of us ever thought it was, and how nothing that Jay Powell has to fix it, how nothing in this economy will fix it, and how this economy is going into recession because of supply chain disruption. Let's take a step back. This is very, very important for understanding SS300, understanding your Build Back Better Act, and understanding your money. This economy is struggling right now because supply chain disruption is growing and getting worse by the hour, and nothing is available for anyone to fix it. When we talked about supply chain disruption coming out of COVID, we were talking about the very basics. We don't have a truck driver to drive the milk to Walmart for you to buy it. It was as simple as that. Then it started with Putin invaded Ukraine in March. We don't have enough wheat to funnel into countries that are dependent upon wheat in Ukraine, like Egypt. 80% of their wheat comes from Ukraine. And that supply chain disruption impacts our bread at home. The bread prices go up internationally, like gasoline went up. Then we had Omicron hitting as a subvariant in China, and suddenly Apple telling us 4 weeks ago that it will not have component parts for its iPhones later in third quarter this year. That was that type of supply chain disruption. Can't get the product. The product's not arriving. This week, folks, we learned that supply chain disruption is far more serious and far more complicated, and it came at retail sales, an industry that is usually the easiest one for a viewer or anyone to understand. You go to Ross department stores, there's the jeans, you buy it. What's the big deal? Either they got the jeans in or they didn't get the jeans in. No, we learned this week it is far more serious, and this is your money. Let me tell you what's going on. We learned from Walmart. We learned from Amazon first, then Walmart, then Target, then Ross department store and Kohl's later this week, that the products did arrive in the supply chain disruption, but arrived too late. Out of season, the weather had changed, the consumer styles had changed, and by the time the product arrived too late, no one wanted it. No one wanted a product where the environment outside had gone from cold to hot or hot to cold, and suddenly you didn't need that sweater, you didn't need those shorts. The product sat on the shelves, and Ross dressed for a lot less, because now they're slashing the prices. The corporate earnings of those companies dramatically fell, not so much because you couldn't afford the product, just because you didn't really want the product because it came at the wrong time because of supply chain disruption. Now here comes your money, here comes your wallet, get ready to get scared. What did Walmart report? What did Target report? And what are they all likely to report? We had the products on the shelves, they were not selling, they came late, and we have all these workers walking around that we brought back from layoffs, we brought back from lockdown on COVID. We have too many employees. Too many employees for merchandise that's not moving. We can't have this many employees. Here we go. Unemployment, get ready. And guess what? We don't have FPUC. We don't have PUA from March 2020 on this channel. We don't have it. The number of unemployed people in the United States went up 2 weeks ago, Thursday. When it went to 200,000, that's starting to become a little bit of an antsy number. If we start to see 225 this week, Thursday morning's LALATE live on air, I start to get a little worried because this is what Jay Powell and the Federal Reserve and certainly the Biden administration and I all look at. If employment starts to unravel, then what does that mean for this economy? Well, you can't afford the price of gasoline right now when you have a job. What about when you don't have a job? What will happen in a recession is that people will be laid off and then businesses will have hiring freezes, which is a sign on the door that says we're not hiring anyone for many years. That's what happens in a recession. Now, are we in a recession tonight? No. Are we in a recession later this year? It depends on who you talk to. I think it's really hard to see a recession by the end of this year at the moment. Why? Because the way you define a recession is 2 quarters of negative GDP growth. It's a negative number. We're decreasing. This economy is shrinking very dramatically, and this is great news for Build Back Better Act because people want to give you money when the economy is not doing well. And the economy is shrinking dramatically. The GDP was supposed to be 7.1% in April, came in at 6.9%. So it shrunk. This is the gross national product. How strong this economy is growing. Well, it's not. It's shrinking. But it has to be a negative number for 2 consecutive quarters. If it's third and fourth, then you have recession this year. If it's fourth, you don't have it this year. You have it next year. First quarter 2023. There you go, on the money. So I don't think we would have the whole impact of it. But here's what you need to know. If Americans believe we're going into recession this year, here comes the consumer confidence plummeting quickly. It's just like what's going on with the stock market and the bond market tonight, as consumer confidence, which drove these markets up very quickly, are setting them down very quickly as well. Housing starts falling very quickly. Auto sales falling very quickly. You obviously know what's going on with stocks and bonds. The dramatic fall from grace is so sudden and so abrupt because people are getting very scared very quickly. And that is before your Temple of Doom 2022 shows up to the equation. Jay Powell. Jay Powell has become sort of that comedy of errors because his comedy of errors, everything he said has not worked and everything he said was wrong. And yet what is he doing? Going into this weekend, he's doubling down. He's repeating his his false narrative, which he thinks is true, but it's absolutely untrue. Let me tell you what he is going to say next week and what he said last week. He is saying that the U.S. economy has price instability with inflation, and the way to battle that is by raising interest rates, and we're getting that inflation down to 2% later this year. True or false? Hideously untrue. Jay Powell's not going to get inflation down to 2% later this year, and the way to get inflation down is not by raising interest rates when the inflation is caused by supply chain disruption. Translation? Jay Powell knows that he has no tools in his toolbox to get down inflation. So why is he doing this? He has to do something, and this is what he's doing. The U.S. economy is in a bear market tonight and will be in a recession by next year, and that movement will be amplified faster by the errors of Jay Powell. Jay Powell has gotten it very wrong since 2021, when a kid with a purple shirt with purple orchids behind him in spring of last year said, "We will have 8% inflation in December 2021. Jay Powell, head of Federal Reserve, with a lot of economists on staff, said we'll have 2% inflation in December 2021, and it'll be temporary, transitory. It'll be here and gone in just a few days. No. I said, no. What are you talking about, Jay? All last year, I said 8% inflation in December, and it came in at 8%. Then I said it was going to be sustained, and it would sustain or go up, and it did. We're in May, and where's inflation tonight? 8% or higher. And that sustained inflation is not coming down. Now, here is the worry tonight, and you're hearing it for the first time tonight on Amy's LA. I don't want to scare the socks off of you, but get ready for a scary statement. This scary statement does not come from me because I've not co-signed this analysis yet. But some financial analysts believe in reading the corporate earnings reports from the big box retailers this last week that the big box retailers are basically saying, we, over the last quarter, absorbed the costs of supply chain disruption. And while you may think our milk in the store is a little bit more, it ain't that much more because we were absorbing the costs of oil, shipping, and transportation, and not passing those costs over to you, Mr. and Mrs. Consumer. Now that our bottom line, our net profits, has fallen dramatically, now that our stocks are down 40%, we're not going to absorb that cost anymore, and we're going to pass that cost upon to you. Scary? Very scary. Boy, that is very scary. That means that the price of milk at the supermarket, not $5 a gallon, could go to $7.50. Not the price of gas, the price of the bread, $4 a loaf, could go to $6 a loaf. If this is true, this means that the inflation that's tracking later this year will not be 4% as I predict, not that ridiculous 2% as Jay Powell predicts, but potentially 12%. Yeah. Suddenly, if you're a viewer, you're shaking your feet. 12% inflation? You mean it's going to go higher? You mean that everything that Jay Powell's not doing is not going to work and it's actually going to get worse? This is an analysis that's out there, and I got to tell you, I don't know if it's fringe. I don't know if it's sort of quasi-mainstream. All I know is this. Bank of England, whose economy is not that much different than ours, says we have runaway inflation like we do, and we're raising interest rates like we are. And even when they do that, they say the Bank of England is going to have a 10% inflationary rate by December in England. So maybe we will go higher. That is part of the worry across the board. That is part of the worry across the board, that millions of Americans understand that a recession was coming. But do they know what stagflation is? No. Have they felt stagflation? No. Why? Because no one that is probably of living age has ever experienced stagflation. It's a very rare event. It is recession and inflation. We have a recessionary environment and stagflation. Who has experienced recession? If you're in the live chat right now, write if you've experienced recession. You have to be of an adult age to have experienced recession. Millennials are young adults who are in their 20s buying and selling crypto, and Bitcoin, seeing it drop and try to hold at 30,000, watching Ethereum and trying to see it hold at 2,000, thinking that every Tesla share they're going to buy is going to keep on going up from $600 to $1,200, and watching it go right back to $600. They're a little confused what's going on. Why? Because they have never lived through a recession. Recession is a horrible environment, and in my predictions, 2 years of it, in which your money will have a lot less value if it's not cash. Stocks will have less value. Bonds will go up. That's the only thing that will go up. And real estate will go down. Auto sales down. Things will devalue. And the value of your dollar, it'll have a little bit less value to it. And that is why you need to get a forced stimulus check that is in every U.S. state. You need to get that forced stimulus check that is in every U.S. state, because that is something that's not devaluing. And the recessionary pressures at issue coming next year, I do not know if there will be a 2023 stimulus package. But we have in 2022 tonight a forced stimulus check in every U.S. state. That is a check I can get you today for the financial pressures that are happening now. A check that you can save up and get lots of money as this economy starts to unravel. That forced stimulus check is in every U.S. state. It's coming up after the commercial break. I'll go over how to get that incredible check for you. Get ready. Get ready by first subscribing. Go to the top of this channel under the description and hitting the subscribe button. Become the part of the largest and fastest growing membership base as well by hitting that join button. Becoming a Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Why? To get the newsletter, the only one of its kind in America tonight, delivered, that has those forced stimulus checks in every U.S. state, has the details, has the application links, has everything you need to know about how to get those big checks, those forced stimulus checks landing by direct deposit when you pounce and get them. When you don't pounce, nothing landing, and that is the part of the equation tonight. The part of the equation tonight is that the forced stimulus checks, in some cases, are $80,000, more than the bank accounts of most U.S. Americans, in a new report released today. We're going to be going over those big checks in the second half of this video. Then I got another check later in this video. Stay to the very end. Also, student loan debt forgiveness, 6 stimulus, where this economy is going, what this market is going to be doing next week, and why you have to get every pot of money that's available tonight and not wait a minute. Become a member, and I will see you back in 60 seconds. as all the news continues on a big show tonight of America's most watched show in financial news, Evenings LALATE. See you back in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now. May 21st, 2022, from the shores of Santa Monica, California, it's Evenings LALATE, America's most watched show for financial news and prime time. Good evening. And throughout this incredible recording, we're going over the financial news right today, where it's heading, and those big checks landing in your bank account. We're going to start with those incredible checks starting right now. Hopefully, during the commercial break, you subscribed and become a member. Get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because that is where those incredible checks are. Those 4 stimulus checks in every U.S. state were the result of my efforts to find them for you, and let's go over how we got to these 4 stimulus checks in every U.S. state, taking it back to March of 2022. In March of 2022, millions of Americans on viewers of this channel were watching, like I was, the negotiations or lack of them of the Build Back Better Act. You needed a check, you needed money, and yet Congress, weren't getting it done. So I took it upon myself, because this is what I do, to get you money, and required research, lots of it. This is what I've been doing since day one, when this channel launched on April 25th, 2020. And since then, I've gotten viewers over $50 million. The first few days of this channel, I was getting people EIDL, PUA, FPUC, and it continued to grow with PPP and LWA. My job then was to get you money. In December 2020, millions of Americans were watching Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin negotiate the second stimulus package. And they didn't get it done, and you needed money then as well. So I found viewers money, $250 billion of rent, $250,000 of money for rent at the time. It equated that in March of this year, when I said I got to find the money. So I looked high and low, needle in a haystack, I guess you would say. And finding stimulus checks is an art form. And for that art form, I'm the Picasso. This involved me finding executive orders from Joseph Biden, because he's the guy who made them law, not Congress. And they were great. A check A, a check B, and lots of check C's. And we're going to go over all the incredible details of them starting right now. First, do you get them? Can you get them? Yes, you can. If you're single, if you're married, if you have children, if you don't have children, if you're on benefits, if you're not on benefits, if you're a retiree, if you're not a retiree, if you work, if you don't work, if you are a young person, and if you're an old person, if you rent, if you own, yes, you can get these incredible checks. Let's start with the first check at issue. It is what I call Check A. The lettering system on this channel is unique to this channel only. It's a lettering system I use to just keep it simple for you across the board. That first check is Check A. And how much is it? Oh boy. Look at that. $6,500 to $12,000. When was the last time you got a $12,000 stimulus check? That is music to the ears. It's a 4 stimulus check. The income qualification is the same as a 3rd stimulus check. Single individual, $75,000 or less. Go get it. Married couple, $150,000 or less. Go get it. If you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, or railroad benefits, go get it. Where do you get it at? Step 1 is subscribe to this channel. Step 2 is go right to where it says join the channel and get a membership. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. And step 3, open that membership newsletter delivered to you Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system, and go right down to check A. I do all the work for you. I write the newsletter, I deliver it to you, and you go right down to check A where I write about it with the link. Yes, it's a website. You click the link, you go right into the website, and you apply. It is done so simply for you. All you have to just do is become a member and apply. Let's go now to check B. Oh boy, do you see that money? That is not a typo. $15,000 to $80,000 of 4 stimulus checks. Yes, that is enormous. That new report released today says that Americans' savings accounts have gone down 15% year to date. Now less than 66,000. They were over 75,000 last year. This stimulus check would give you more than is in the average savings account of Americans tonight. It's a 4 stimulus check, single individual, 75,000 or less, married couple, 150,000 or less. And if you're on benefits, go get it. It's called the Homeowner's Grant Check. How do you get this check? You know the answer. Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. Step 3, go into the membership newsletter and go right down to that check B. It's right under check A, obviously. And apply. It's an online website, and you go right in there, and you are ready to rock and roll. You're not done there yet, because get ready to go get some checks of Check C. These are lots of checks. There's not one check, but many of them, which I'm going over right now. This is for you, especially if you're a renter. Congratulations, my renters. Go get Check C. And if you're a homeowner, you can also get Check C. How much? MSC, baby, $2,000 a month over 12 months is where it's averaging currently. But viewers have gotten a lot more than even that. They've gotten over 130,000 because this is the residue of third stimulus. This is third stimulus from last year, and it's still being paid out. I called for stimulus in this video for simplification purposes, but it is so easy to get. How do you do this one? Yes, you know the equation. Subscribe, step 1. Step 2, become a member. Step 3, go into the newsletter and go down to Check C. But here, it's a little bit different. In the case of Check C, you're not applying on a website. Nope. You are using your phone. You open that membership newsletter and it tells you who to call, where to call, what to say, how to say it, how quickly to do it. It's all in the membership newsletter, organized and prepared for you. Go get these incredible checks. Check C is the remainder of what was on this channel since almost the earliest days. In December 2020, what I talked about early in this video, there was a need for Americans to get money during the middle of the winter of the pandemic, and you need that money. So what did I do? I found my money in rent and utilities and mortgages as a bore. Then when third stimulus was in the works and I had a exclusive preview of what was in third stimulus, I said it's the same thing I'm training you on. When this becomes law, you're going to do really well. You're going to get lots of money. Well, the viewers of this channel got on average 45,000 when I thought they would only be able to get about 15,000. Viewers since then has continued to get big sums of money, averaging 45,000, but many viewers over $100,000. The numbers are absolutely incredible because viewers have gotten these monies over and over again. Let's look at some of these success stories. When we look at the rent, this was back in fall of last year, 20,000 up to 27,000. The utilities, like Mark's brother-in-law getting 15,000. The SNAP, whoa, Mark's brother-in-law getting 25,000 over 10 years, $250,000. When we look at the combos, here is Nisi at 23,000. She's gone back at least half a dozen times this year. She has gotten about 8,000 each time. She's over about 40,000 tonight. And because she keeps on going back and getting the money. There's Mark. See Mark, 32,000. Well, Mark went back. He got more, went to 50,000. Then he went to 100,000. Then he got check B and went to 166,000. Here's Lorraine, and she was at 105. She's at 120 tonight. If you've had a success story in the live chat, write your success story. And if you've had a new recent success story, also send it to me on private message on Facebook. How do you do this? The simplicity is abounds. Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. And step 3, go right into that membership newsletter and get that incredible newsletter and get those applications across the board. If you are a member and you're in the live chat and you're having problems with the newsletter, then send me a private message on Facebook and I will answer you accordingly. Coming up later in this video, more checks. Now, let's turn to the importance of why you need to get these checks tonight more than ever before. It's what we call in this channel stimulus tsunami or stimulus stampede. That stimulus stampede is less than 90 days away in my predictions because Americans are going to start feeling the impact of the recession out to sea, the wind on land. They're going to start to feel, and they're going to come around in about 30 to 90 days from now saying, you got a check for me? I need a check. That is why you need to get these sums of money right tonight. Because one thing I don't know now and I'll never know, is how long the funds will be around. When will they run out? I can't track that type of information. So you need to get these sums of money tonight. You can't wait across the board. Next, the Build Back Better Act would give $15,000 to $80,000 of checks on top of that, but we ultimately don't know what it is, and we don't know the delivery time on the Build Back Better Act. The SS300, very important. Let's go over that part of the equation right now. Joe Biden, when running for president of the United States, and then at joebiden.com, said that he's going to swap your COLA for inflation as your benchmark. That is huge. That this is where I ramp up with my angst in every recording. Why? Because this is something that needs to be done immediately, not 5 weeks from now, not 5 months from now. All the analysts, even the White House, even Jay Powell, even Jeff Bezos, even myself, all say that the two groups of people being hurt the most by these inflationary pressures tonight are low-income individuals and people on benefits. The prices go up and you're not making more money. Your check is not any more money than it was the week before. And you can't afford the products. And early in this video, when I told you the gasoline may go up more, the bread may go up more, the wheat may go up more, and the retail may go up more, what are you to do? This is why Joe Biden needs to make that swap from COLA to inflation. How does this work? If Joe Biden made that phone call to the Social Security Administration head and said, swap COLA for inflation, your benefits would go up right away. If inflation really is 8% tonight, which is what I believe it is, then you lock in $200 more per month. Not just this month, not just this year, but lifetime. What about later this year? Jay Powell, 2% inflation? Not happening. Not happening. I believe it's going to be about 4%. Let's hope it's not 8%. If it's 8%, your benefits will go up another $400 later this year. But if the inflation is 4% later this year, your benefits will go up another $100. SS300. Now, this is important to be done by Joseph Biden right tonight because those inflationary pressures could get worse. And one of them that is going to get worse is, drumroll, gasoline. If you remember this channel, you see that membership newsletter and you see what's happened to that price of gasoline in just the last few days. This is brand new. We already saw gasoline go up before, but suddenly the domestic AAA average of unleaded in the United States has surged to $4.45 when it was just $4.14 less than 10 days ago. This is interesting for two reasons. One, the international price of gasoline has not gone up. Brent crude, the international price of gasoline, has stayed stagnant at $1.11 for nearly 3 weeks on this channel, while the price of AAA, national average of unleaded, has continued to creep up more. Why is this troubling? It's troubling for a series of reasons. One, what the president did 3 months ago that I said was not going to work did not work. He released 1 million barrels of gasoline per day from the strategic reserves. Number two, the president pursued the wrong course of action with Iran. The president was using the JCPOA, which is an agreement that's been in the works for many years, not signed yet, to relieve the embargo against Iran to release their oil back into circulation. It would work. 1 million plus barrels a day when we're down 2.5 because of Russia. Yeah, we're still very, very short. Well, that JCPOA deal did not happen. We do not know why. In fact, as you've seen a month ago on this channel when I first reported it did not happen, we don't know why it didn't happen. The news tonight, which is breaking news, in fact, it happened last night, but I didn't have time to cover it in last night's evening's LA broadcast, is that the White House is now re-pursuing Venezuela. Yes. Venezuela, the number one producer of gasoline internationally and exporter, is now the subject of a new potential deal making for gasoline. Venezuela is highly embargoed by the United States for domestic issues, and those domestic embargoes will need to be relieved completely. But the White House is starting to relieve a little bit of them for one of the U.S. manufacturers. It needs to do more. Now, here's where it gets bad. China's on lockdown. China's on lockdown because it's a subvariant of Omicron. It's supposed to come out of lockdown in early June. It's conflicting reports day in, day out, whether they are or they aren't, whether Omicron is surging or not. But let me tell you what happens. If China comes out of lockdown, they get back in their cars, they start driving. They ain't driving, and they are one of the biggest consumers of gasoline internationally. If they start driving, then more shortage of gasoline. Then, if there's more shortage of gasoline, the price of gasoline in the United States would go up dramatically. What do you mean dramatically, LALATE? It's already high tonight. Yeah, this is where the situation continues to unravel. That is why, if you think the price of gasoline, like it is in Los Angeles, is high enough, you ain't seen anything yet. To think that back in March, I said the price of gasoline is not sustainable at its current levels, we're going into recession. It's still sustained at the current levels, and we're going into recession. I said the price of bread and grain and corn is not sustainable. Otherwise, if it stays that way into May, we go in recession. Guess what? They're actually worse, those two levels now in May. We're going into recession. And those levels may actually continue to skyrocket even higher if the price of Brent crude, in my opinion, surges to 120 a barrel. If China comes off a lockdown in June, then guess what your price of gasoline in the United States will be? It ain't going to be 544. It ain't going to be 444. It's going to be astronomical. The price of gasoline domestically was 445 or 450 last night. It could surge as high as $6 as the average. Today, it's currently 640 on average in Los Angeles. So that means Los Angeles could go to $8. These are astronomical numbers that many people think are nosebleeding. They are nosebleeding. These are situations where people just start to stop doing things, stop driving, stop drinking milk if the milk is $5 a gallon, stop eating bread if the bread is going to go to $7 a loaf. People start to pivot very quickly. And this is why the data is delayed in coming in. Let me explain why delayed data is the most confusing data, especially when looking at stimulus. Delayed data is the most confusing data. Housing data was released this week, and what did it show? It showed the housing market was relatively flat compared to the prior month. Homes on the market sold within 7 days. The average price of the home went up a little bit more, $391, an increase of 15% year to date. It was basically just sort of wishy-washy, not much of news, until you read the subtext. The subtext, which was from the National Association of Realtors chief economist for the group, Lawrence Yun, he said, this data, which you think is April data released in May, is really not. This is for people who went into contract to sell homes in January and February. Yeah, you have a 60-day extra on the home when you go to sell it. Well, guess what happened in January, February? Vladimir Putin did not invade Ukraine. We did not have runaway gasoline prices. We did not have Jay Powell raising interest rates. We did not have mortgage rates surging from 3% to 5.5%. Yeah, this is what's going to happen over the next week. You're going to see a lot of data release, and some of the data will not be ripe data, will not be current data. It will be data that was impacted far before these events covered on this channel tonight unfolded. And that's why it's so important to stay with the data and understand what it is. Joseph Biden needs to make that swap from COLA to inflation right tonight. Take this video and tag the president at joebiden.com, or at Joe Biden, I should say, on Twitter, and at POTUS, hashtag Joe make the call, but he needs to do something else. Forgive the student loan debt. $10,000 of student loan debt is on the table, and this is another situation where I don't know what he's doing. I understand you don't have to pay the student loan debts at the moment. It's currently a moratorium. I understand it's not currently a financial burden, but it will be, and this needs to be alleviated right across the board. It would save hundreds of dollars for viewers across the board, and why is he waiting, I believe, for the midterm elections? Not a good look. The president has forgiven student loan debts for individuals who became disabled after graduation, went to work in the nonprofit or public sector, and then for individuals who were defrauded by the university. Next, the president took defaulted loans and put them in good standing, and if you have loans due in May, he rolled them over to September. But you need to go to the Department of Education's website if you are a federal borrower and do the following steps. Number one, open up all the press releases for the last 3 months and read them very diligently and continue to read them. Look for whatever Miguel Cardona is reporting, because I don't have all the details in an entire recording to cover student loan debt forgiveness. Next, write down IDR credit. I as in igloo, Donald as a D, and R as in Robert. Write down public service loan forgiveness. And finally, write down income-based loan forgiveness. These are among the statutes that Cardona, head of education, is trying to modify to forgive your student loan debts. He would detail them all in his press releases. Go to that tonight. Fifth stimulus. People often ask me, whatever happened to fifth stimulus? Will it happen? That SSI reform. Yes, but not right now, not yet. You need that SSI reform to do the marriage penalty, to get rid of it, to get rid of the income cap, to get rid of the asset cap. You need an act of Congress to modify law. In the case of swapping COLA for inflation, that is only a phone call. Hashtag Joe made the call. All he has to do is call the Social Security Administration head, like he did for Department of Agriculture. Say they're not being paid enough money. Swap it for COLA, and that would raise your benefits right across the board. That is a simple equation, needs to be done immediately. Let's look at some of the data that came out this week in addition to the housing starts. Well, the S&P is now in its worst territory since the 1920s, 7 consecutive weeks down. We started last week at the edge of a bear market. Tonight, we are clearly in a bear market. Third, we now have the worries of whether we are going into a recessionary environment or a stagflation environment. No one is really talking about stagflation except you and I. Stagflation is a little bit more worrisome than recession. Stagflation means recession and inflation. Those interest rates got a shocker of a story from Jay Powell late in the last week when Jay Powell said, yeah, I see what's going on. He had already seen the implosion of Target. He had already seen the downward spiral of Walmart. He had already seen the downward spiral of Amazon. He had already seen the crash of Wall Street, or crashing of Wall Street for 6 weeks. And what did he say? I'm doubling down. I'm doubling down. The comments from Jay Powell were really shocking. And these comments came as many people thought that Jay Powell would move off. No, he in fact said, if I have to continue to raise interest rates, I will do it until I get price stability with inflation. Those were the comments, and those comments were perhaps the scariest news that we had seen in the last 2 weeks, but it was really buried because everyone was focusing on the crash of the stock market. Why is this scary wording? Jay Powell has it wrong. He's going to continue to do it wrong, and he's going to do it more wrong over and over again until someone just comes in with I don't know, with the ice chest and just throws some ice on his back and say, stop it. This is what's going to go on. He's going to do a half basis point increase in June at the FOMC meeting, July, August. He's going to keep on hitting, as he said. And then at some point, the backlash is going to be very, very severe. The backlash against Jay Powell is going to be very severe. It's really picked up quickly when he says crazy stuff like 2% inflation later this year. That's crazy nonsense. That's stuff that makes no sense. Then when people now look at those corporate earnings reports from Target, from Walmart, from Kohl's, from Ross Department Store, where they all say they had big shortfalls last quarter because of supply chain disruption, not because of inflation. Let's make this very clear. The retail numbers were not generally, consumers didn't buy because the products were too expensive. No, the comments were, we did not sell the products because they were the wrong products that came too late. These are the products we ordered months ago. They came too late. We are now out of season. No one wanted that product. The weather outside had changed. The products were no longer in desire. They were now products we had to throw into clearance. That is why retail sales numbers are slumping. Does Jay Powell have anything to fix with that? No, he doesn't run the ports and the shipping systems in the United States. He knows it. And somewhere along the line, there's going to be very, very bad backlash against Jay Powell. I don't know who's going to deliver it. That is part of the equation. It will certainly be financial analysts will start to express the backlash. But the backlash will be teed up once there's more misery. Yeah. The misery of a downward spiraling economy is something that has a lot of different people with a lot of different interests at heart. Let me explain why this is important, and I've never really explained it clearly until tonight. When you're in a spiraling downward economy where the events that are happening are something that people of certain ages have never seen, then it gets a little bit problematic to report it and a little bit problematic to learn it. Let's go over first part of the equation. First part of the equation is a lot of people don't know what something is unless they experience it. I can report to you recession, 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 but unless you experience it, you don't know what it really feels like. So if you're not of adult age, you probably have never experienced a recession. Next, unless you're of really adult age, you may have never experienced a stagflation because there have been very few stagflations in this year's economy. Number three, if you have never seen a bear market or been the victim of a bear market, then you really don't know how sentiments change so quickly. All this is amplified by the fact that these events were potentially never around when social media was around. This is also new tonight. We did not have social media last time when we had a recession. We did not have social media last time when we had a stagflation. We did not have social media last time when we had a bear market. And you know what I'm about to go to? Yeah, it's obvious what I'm about to go to. Doge to $1. All those ridiculous YouTubers who in May of last year told you to buy Doge because it's going to go to $1. And then by September and October and November, Doge to $1. January this year, Doge to $1. Just Doge father, Doge grandfather, Doge this, Doge. It was just exhausting. And the meme stocks, it's just all that silly, just nonsense. And every YouTuber who's about 18 years old says, just buy on the dip. You know, stocks are down 2,000 points last week. Buy on the dip. Oh, they're down another $2,000. Buy on the dip. Keep on buying on the dip. These are people who don't know what they're talking about, and they're going to burn a lot of people really badly, including themselves. Housing market especially. Real estate brokers were on the receiving end of backlash 3 months ago when they said housing starts are still doing well. People in New York, the average sale of a condo in New York is $3 million. It's actually true. $3 million is all cash buyers is averaging out. And the reporters are saying, but there's not a limitless supply of 3 million all cash buyers for condos in New York. Yes, there is. The answer is no, there isn't. When their stocks have imploded, when their other real estate holdings have imploded, when their crypto has imploded, guess how much $3 million of cash sitting around they have? They don't have it anymore. The way they get the $3 million of cash is they sell their tech stocks, they sell their blue chip stocks, they sell their bonds, they sell their real estate. They don't actually have $3 million of cash in the bank. They come up with the $3 million of cash by selling something else. This is what happens in recession. You can't sell something else, because that something else has no value anymore. Suddenly, that Tesla stock, which was $1,200, went to $600. Suddenly, that Apple shares, what is Apple now? 130. I mean, these are ridiculous numbers. Selling Decentraland, those 225 is 90 cents. Selling Bit, which is trying to stay above 29,000, may go to 27,000. Or Ethereum going down to 1,500. Then suddenly, when you go to sell something to go buy that $3 million condo, yeah, you're not going to sell the thing. This is what happens. When you have this environment, suddenly people who have things will not sell them because they don't want to take a loss. And then they do that mantra week after week as you go through the pain of a downward spiraling economy. And then eventually they say, I need to come up with some cash. I think I need to sell something. And I hate to take this loss, but I'm going to have to take the loss. And that's what they do. This is a change of consumer confidence, and you're going to see it everywhere. It's going to start right now with people who are mom and pops, people who bag the groceries at the supermarket, truck drivers, school bus drivers, who all understand that the stock market is down. They don't own stocks, but they understand the stock market's down. They understand there's something wrong with that. And there's something wrong with it when they hear the word bear market. Most Americans know the differences of a bear and a bull market. They understand there's something wrong. Then they also understand that there's something wrong with the price of gasoline continuing to go up. They understand there's something wrong with the price of milk going up. And as they see things continually getting worse, what are they going to do? Stimulus stampede to this channel. Where's my check? Do you have any checks for me, LA? What checks do you have? What checks can I get? And they're going to look really high and low, and that is not you, because tonight, a forced stimulus check is in every U.S. state. Tonight, you're going to get that check. Tonight, you're not going to be that person waiting till the 11th hour. That other check that is also in the membership newsletter, as I said, I had a surprise for you in the very end of this video, is Check D. Check D is also in the membership newsletter. It is a forced stimulus check in 24 states, growing to more states across the board. In some cases, it's an automatic check. In some cases, it's $2,000. Which states are paying this check D? It's all in the membership newsletter. Go to the top of the chat and under the description. Hit that subscribe button right now. You ain't going to find a channel like this. This is the channel to be with through the start of this recession and throughout this recession. We'll be a family, and together we're going to get through it like we got through COVID. Subscribe, hit that membership link, and join, become a Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. Stay as a member because new checks come on all night long, all week long. Hit that bell and make sure the notifications are set to all, and then get that membership newsletter and pounce. Stay with me and make sure that you watch the videos throughout the day. Don't just watch Evenings LALATE every night at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, because there's now too much financial news to report in a single day in just one video. So it's spread across our incredible videos every day. We start before sunrise with sunrise at 3 and 3:30 a.m. Then early mornings LALATE at 4 a.m. Countdown mornings LALATE at 7. Mornings live on air at 9. Noontime, 11 a.m., live on air many times. Then afternoons at 1, afternoons at 3, a brand new show every day. The big whopper of a show, Evenings LALATE, America's most watched show for financial news and prime time at 5 o'clock. 6 o'clock, Countdown. 7 o'clock, Street and Stimulus. 8 o'clock, Extra. 9 o'clock, is Sunset. And then our live show starts every day at 6 p.m. From the shores of Santa Monica, California to the shores of the East Coast, from the highs to the lows, from recession to boom market, from bad days to good days, we are together as a family, and we will get together as a family and stay together as a family. We do that by getting every check that's available today, not waiting, not wondering, pouncing as the Purple Hawk you are. Pounce and get those incredible checks tonight. Don't wait, and see you all throughout the night as all the excitement continues on LALATE.